In this video, we will go through the Dataset Consumption APIs. These are REST APIs, which enable you to interact with your dataset to store and manipulate data. To demonstrate the APIs, we are using Postman as our REST client, but you can use curl or any other REST client if you'd like. All Dataset Consumption APIs need an authorization token, so let's generate one before we start with the consumption APIs. For this, you will use the Authorization API. It needs an API key and it's secret, which has permissions to perform the actions that you want on your dataset. To learn how to create API keys and policies, please watch the Create API Key and Create Policy videos, or read our documentation. To generate the token, we have to make a post request to the project URL /auth endpoint. You can find the project URL in your project settings. In the request body, add method as APK, key as API key, and secret as API keys secret. This API key has permissions to perform all actions on our dataset, books. In the response, we get an access token and a refresh token. Let's copy the access token for further use. Now that we've generated the authorization token, let's move to the Dataset Consumption APIs. We'll start with creating records in the dataset. For this, we will make a post request to the dataset's endpoint, which is project URL /ds /dataset name. In our case, the dataset name is books. In the body, we need to send the data corresponding to the dataset fields that we want to store. Now, let's add an author. Charles Dickens, title of the book, A Tale of Two Cities, and the ISBN number of the book. Add the authorization header with the authorization token as its value, and send the request. In the response, we get the new record, which is created in the dataset with its unique ID. You can also create multiple records in one request by sending an array of records, like in this request. In the response, you will get an array of the newly created records. Now let's make a GET request to the dataset's endpoint to fetch the records from our dataset. You can also add the optional filter parameters in the URL to get the desired result. Please check the documentation for more details. Now, let's add the authorization token in the request and hit send. In the response, we get all the records from the dataset. We can also update the records in our dataset. We can either update the records in full or partially. To update full records, we have to make a put request to the dataset's endpoint. Let's add the authorization header and then update the ISBN number in the record we created, and then send the request. In the response, we get the record with updated data. To update the records partially, we have to make a patch request to the dataset's endpoint. Now let's view the current values of the record we are about to update. The author name is wrong here, so let's add the ID and the author name that we want to update in the body. Add the authorization header and send the request. In the response, we get the record with updated data. You can also update multiple records by sending them in an array. Or you can use the optional filter parameters for updating the records and getting the desired results. To delete records from our dataset, we have to make a delete request to the dataset's endpoint with optional filter parameters. Make sure to add a condition filter parameter, otherwise all the data records will be deleted from your dataset. Now let's delete a record for an ID. Add the authorization header and send the request. In the response, we get the deleted record. These APIs also throw errors in case the request is incorrect, the token is invalid, or there is some internal problem. For more details on the APIs and errors, please go through our documentation. Well, this is it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you want to learn more about your project setup, please keep watching our other videos.